Welcome back to LPS Roundtable. Across education today, schools are facing real challenges. Academic gaps, declining reading and writing skills, chronic absenteeism, and a growing mindset that learning can be postponed or recovered later. In Linden, we believe in resilience. When learning becomes difficult, when students struggle, or when motivation fades, our response is not to lower expectations, but to strengthen support. Failure is not an option because resilience means teaching students to persist, show up, keep trying, no matter the circumstances. Today's conversation is about accountability, engagement, and resilience. How we help students understand the importance of effort, attendance, and belief in themselves while ensuring they are supported every step of the way. Today I have with me support staff, administrators, as well as our Dean of Academic Support for the Linden High School. And we are here to really dive into failure is not an option as we look at secondary students and where they are in the second marking period just ending, and now we're in the third marking period, and how we can keep pushing forward and knowing that failure will never be an option here in Linden Public Schools. So I have with us today.
Hi, I'm Laura Venezio, Supervisor of Language Arts.
Hi, I'm Angelo Monaco, Vice Principal of Seoul Middle School.
And hi, I am Teal Anderson. I am the Dean of Students at Linden High School.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank
you. We appreciate it.
Excited to be here.
Right,
Good
so
to get the conversation going.
Yes.
And so as I was speaking in the beginning, right, and I saw your heads nodding, what were you was there a word or a thought that came to mind as I get ready to get into these questions?
Well, the failure is not an option stuck out to me because I think that's powerful to tell our students and let them know that we believe failure is not an option and that's what we expect from them. I think it helps the community, the students, the families want to expect that from the kids too. So that sets the tone for Linden High School, for Linden Elementary School, the middle schools, our community. And I think it's important to say failure isn't an option.
I think for me, when I hear failure is not an option, yes, that's the case. And then I started thinking about what's the opposite of failure? Success.
I like that.
And we need to be successful, and we need to show different examples of what success looks like. And there's so many different definitions, and it's so individual to the specific person what success looks like. But we want everybody to be successful in the way that they feel that they need to be successful.
Absolutely.
The word that stood out for me was engagement. So I'm all about engagement. We just had our department meeting yesterday. We talked about keeping students engaged and what we can do to help them and support them. And that steady engagement is the key. That keeps them in school and keeps them learning.
So what was a theme that came about from keeping students engaged in the language arts classroom?
So basically the theme is just having those conversations, having the students be a part of the classroom and feel that relationship, that bond, that sense of home. This becomes their second home for them. So we really talked about having conversations with kids, making them understand the importance of being there every day, completing their assignments, and being a part of the room.
Absolutely.
And that was part of my first question that I was asking, which really, when we tag a theme to it, when we're talking about expectations, accountability, and the student mindset, right? You all kind of just provided such great insight into that. So I have another question. Why is it important for Linden to clearly communicate that learning and effort matter throughout the school year and not just at the end?
I love how you started off the question by saying, why is it important for Linden? I want to focus on Linden for a second. Me personally, I'm a product of Linden. I went to school in Linden, graduated from Linden High School, came back, taught in Linden, was a supervisor in Linden, now I'm a vice principal in Linden. So it's personal for me to make sure that our students are successful. I want to be able to pay forward what I learned to the next generation of Lindenites, so that way the legacy of this city continues to grow and improve. So that's the first thing that stood out for me. Now, in terms of the beginning of the school year and why we want the students to think from the beginning of the school year, to put that effort in to learn, there's a couple things. I think students struggle to think in terms of the bigger picture. In this age of social media, all of us have been wired to think in terms of instant gratification, in terms of that short-term piece, and like, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. So students are only thinking about September in September, thinking about October in October, and sometimes struggle to think about the big picture. All right, what I'm doing now in September, what I'm doing now in October could have an impact on what happens come May and June. In terms of learning, May is a big time for state testing. What you learn in September, in October, is going to appear on that state assessment. It is going to appear at high school, the final exams. It's going to appear on those final exams. You're building those prerequisite skills in September and October that you're going to need this time of the year moving forward, January, February, March, April, all the way to the end. So if students are not putting in the effort now to learn, then they're falling behind. They're naturally going to fall behind because they don't have those prerequisite skills. And in terms of the effort piece, effort, it takes time to build that effort. So if students are starting off, and it goes for us too as adults, if you're building those poor work habits, it's hard to turn the switch on to be like, all right, I gotta go, because if you're naturally building and saying, all right, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, then it's hard to switch. And by the time that you switch, it might be too late.
I totally agree, Angelo. And being a Linden resident myself, I grew up here as well. Yeah, I have invested interest as well. But I think when you were talking about final exams, I think so often students think about, oh, I just have to do well in the final at the end, or I have to just do well on my assessment. And it's more than that. They need to understand that learning happens every single day. And having that communication with them is so important, that we're all adults too and educators, but we're lifelong learners. We don't just learn in school, we learn every day. So I think that's super important. And also understanding that effort matters every day. And when they feel that effort matters every day, they will want to be there. They'll want to participate more. The engagement will be a little bit stronger. Language arts, our skills reading and writing, that they're developed over time. It's not something that happens at the end of the year. It's something that develops over time.
Everywhere.
So it's super important.
So I do agree, and from a high school perspective, the expectations that we have of our students are super duper important. We should expect them to start off strong and to finish strong. So we have to make sure they understand, if they're coming into the first semester and they're failing and they're not doing well in classes, that will affect what happens later on. Things like having a momentum, or things they might see as a crutch, it doesn't help in the long run. It might hurt or hinder the success. As a freshman, you need credits. You need 35 credits as a freshman to move on to be a sophomore. It's important that students understand what's needed each year to be successful. Our goal in life is to produce citizens who are successful, and that's what we want to make sure we let our kids know. Our expectations of them are high. Failure is not an option, as you say.
And you know what I hear you all say, right? Failure is not an option. From when I asked about something you can share from the grade level meeting that just took place, right? And it goes right back to what you all just now said, that students need to feel part of the environment, right? And so we're doing different strategies, but the biggest strategy that I'm hearing everybody say is letting them know that they are expected to show up day one. Absolutely. To the end, right? And so we see that, we feel that, and I believe that as we continue to speak upon it, as you said, because they need to know from the beginning what those credits are, that represents who Linden is, right? Like, we're going to continue to meet them where they're at and keep going. All right, so for a second focus and talking about attendance, engagement, and opportunity, let's talk about chronic absenteeism, right? In order for students to succeed, right, failure is not an option, the opposite. We understand that we are combating chronic absenteeism as many ways as possible, because it is a national concern issue, right, across the country. Why does simply being present in school make a difference for student success?
So, I'm sorry. Okay. I think we noticed after COVID, like I was a counselor when COVID happened, and just to understand what it did to our students, their mindset, or even to families, the rate of absenteeism, it grew. So now we're at a point where students, that school avoidance they have, it's important for them to understand that just being in that classroom, the lessons that they can learn, not just lessons in the classroom, but life lessons from a mentor. So having key people in education, a coach, a mentor, sometimes even a custodian, a cafeteria worker, making those connections could help people understand school is a family too. I've met some of my best friends in the school system. I'm not from Linden, but I feel that I am Linden now because I've been here so long, and I feel like the community, just seeing these kids thrive is important and is special. So the absenteeism rate and things like that, students need to know they need to show up because they need to learn. If they want to be successful, they need to be in that classroom, getting that education in the classroom.
And that last point that you said, when students they need to learn, and when they show up, that's when they learn. That's something that comes to my mind right away. And then I started thinking a little bit deeper about what it means to show up and the benefits of showing up to school other than just learning. It's also that social emotional piece. It's students being able to socialize with each other, make friends, being able to navigate those difficult situations, being able to navigate those conflicts. If they're home, they don't have that opportunity to interact with their peers or build those skills that they're going to need in the real world. It's one thing to have the content knowledge, the skills that you earn from being able to read a book, take a quiz, go out, those technical skills. But there's also that social aspect, that social piece of being able to navigate the workforce. Once you get out and have a job, you have to be able to communicate with people. And when students struggle, not just academically, but also socially and emotionally, we have those supports here in our schools for students to receive, so that way they can continue to develop and grow, whether it is a dean like yourself, or it's a counselor, or it's a social worker, or if it's just an adult that the student has a good relationship with, even if they don't necessarily have the skills that they might not have went to school to get the training to be a counselor or social worker, but they know how to build relationships. Just like you mentioned, it could be a custodian, it could be a cafeteria staff member. Those are the people that had the boots on the ground a lot of the time. The hall monitors, our security staff, they'll come to me and be like, "Oh, Mr. Monaco, just so you know, XYZ is happening. I heard this from a student," and that's because they build that rapport with the students and can let us know. And if those staff members can help our students come in, then that's what's going to help increase attendance and increase student engagement. And another piece I started thinking about as well, prior to being a vice principal, I was a supervisor before and after school programs. And a big piece that came out of a lot of the research is that districts that have after school programs have an increase in attendance because the students are excited to come to those after school programs. So we have a very robust after school program. At Seoul, we have the 21st Century program, and it's a lifesaver for a lot of our families that have multiple jobs. And besides that, we have extracurriculars, we have athletic opportunities, and the ways for our students to participate in those activities is to be here.
Absolutely. Simply put, if they're not here, they're not learning. So,
Say that again. Say that again.
Simply put, if they're not here, they're not learning. Our teachers do a wonderful job if they are sick or absent to put those assignments on Canvas, and the students, have it at their access. But if they're not here, they're not learning. And, in the language arts classrooms, we talk about this all the time. Learning happens through class discussions, through turning and talking, working with a partner. I was in a classroom today, they were acting out Macbeth. So, it's so important. It was. It was really fun. They had wooden swords and all. So
I love it.
it's fantastic. So if they're not here, they're missing out on that experience. And, not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone can just read something and gain the knowledge. Acting it out, talking it out, listening to others really, really matters. So we need them in school.
We
I'm
need them.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say that part. Just a lesson like that. That's what we need those things in the classroom because that gets kids excited to come to the classroom. Those rapports we're talking about. Sometimes a student might come to school just to have that conversation because they needed it. So great lessons, school culture, all of those things. It helps, and we need those, and we are doing that here in Linden. And we're going to see more of it with new programs that we do bring into the high school, into the middle school, and elementary schools.
You know, our initiative this year to combat chronic absenteeism is the LPS Show Up and Roar initiative, where that's our hashtag that we put out there and on our social media sites to help encourage and really solidify that we are not giving up on our children. And as you said, when you're here, you're able to learn. When you are here, you are able to receive supports during the day and the afternoon. When you are here, you are able to try different things in like safe environments. That's what we have because as we think about our students, we do understand, and as you shared earlier too, it comes back to we must keep students engaged. They have to want to be there.
Absolutely.
And through our ROAR initiative too, when we speak to the R from resilience to the R at the bottom of relationships, it is key that we're doing multiple outreach, I should say, to just keep students involved. And so we see that. So I'm going to shift a little bit more into literacy and learning gaps and academic support. As I was doing some research, I wrote it down, but current research that came out in the last 2 years, it's showing that nationally, 44% of American adults don't know how to read. 44%.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's high.
It's alarming.
That's high.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the middle schooler to the high schooler, they're going to be out of school soon. And so we need to ensure that we are really keeping them here. We want them to be here. One of the things you also said, Mr. Monaco, was that we're preparing students for the real world.
Absolutely.
Well, this is their world,
Yeah, actually.
Absolutely.
right? And teaching them these skills of what it means from camaraderie to it matters, you matter, that takes you that takes you well into adulthood. That's everybody wants that, right? And so we're doing those pieces. So here, when we're talking about the national concern of reading and writing skills, what challenges are you seeing in our schools?
Well, this is my wheelhouse.
You got it.
I got this. So as a supervisor of language arts, we are seeing, it's a digital world, 2026, here we are. And it's amazing at such a young age, the skills that they already have with technology. You know, they have an iPhone and iPad in their hand, you know, from a very young age. And so with that, it's wonderful for certain things, but there are some repercussions. And the repercussions are the reading stamina. So they are still learning how to read. They're excited to read. We have apps where they can read on the iPads and the computer, but their stamina is suffering just a little bit. Their attention span, you know, the reels and TikToks are not as fun sometimes. So, you know, we are seeing, but literacy is the foundation. It's the foundation for everything, for all education. So we are seeing that as a challenge, just having them have the ability to just sit there with a book in hand.
So I have a funny story. My mom gets super duper frustrated sometimes with her grandkids because they're in the room, lights off with the phone. So she's like, come outside. How can you read with the darkness? So our kids, you know, they're so glued to these iPads, to their phones in the darkness. She's like, you're not going to be able to read. But the fun part about this generation is, while they might have some setbacks, they're so far advanced in so many other things. I think we have to tap into that and find new ways to meet them where they're at. I believe strongly in early intervention when it comes to reading, language arts. Those skills that you learn early on, if we tap into that, it's nothing our babies can't learn.
And artificial intelligence. Our students, I see it at the middle school. Our students know how to use AI. And that's my wheelhouse. I love AI. And it's a matter of being able to use it properly and responsibly. There's many times where students will complete assignments and submit them, and we can tell that it's at a high school level. It's high school vocabulary. It might even be at a college level in terms of the level of work. and the teacher will ask the student, hey, what does this mean, or what does this say? And they may not have any idea. So then there's that conversation about, all right, you know how to use AI, but are you using it the way that you need to help you as a tool? And they're not using it as a thought partner all the time. And that's what we need to strive for them to be able to do in order for them to be able to write well. If we're talking about reading, we're talking about writing. AI is in some ways taking away some of that writing ability because AI is writing it for them.
Mm. Well, don't worry. We're working on putting books back in their hands.
Right. Yeah, we're not worried.
Right.
We're not worried. Well, I guess I will say we have systems in place
Yes.
that are promoting active learning and accountability. From earlier when you said they're reading Macbeth and they're loving it, right?
The classics, we bring the classics back.
Right? But it's part of what's happening in that environment through the props and the experiences that you must read first in order to now create. Even if it's AI, you must first read or look at something to put a prompt in. You have to be able to write to put a prompt in.
Right.
So I believe that we're seeing it all over the world. AI is everywhere, from a navigation to a car to now we're talking about what it looks like in our classroom. And one of the things too that's really clear in the national statistics is stating that 72% of adults are not using literacy as a priority in their day-to-day. And as a result, there's a higher impact of students coming in schools with a very low literacy rate because the adults that they're around the most, right? And this is a national crisis. And so when I think about our pre-K classrooms and how the students from the beginning they come in, 3 years old, they have to learn how to read and write from those play plans to the single letter to now the I am able to, going to.
Right.
And then they build upon their thoughts through reading and writing. I just want to say that we're tackling this problem, and we're, in the third grade classroom, once they read, they then have to use AI to create a superhero character of their writing and then build upon it in technology. So there's definitely benefits to what we're seeing, but I do believe that we have cutting edge teachers and resources and programs that helps us combat what we see as a national level crisis.
Absolutely. I mean, at the high school, we have a book club that meets after school for grades 9 through 12. And, we're getting kids to get the books back in their hands. It's not all digital. They can use digital resources, but we're giving them experiences and opportunities to learn to love reading again. Book clubs, library checkouts. In the spring, we're planning the middle schools walking to the Linden Library and checking out books. So we're getting kids to go back to the old school again, going to the library, checking out books, but also embracing the digital world.
I think it's important too to have books that the students want to read, understanding the community in which we're servicing, what book might be for that young basketball player, what would he like to read? So I think it's important. And I know at the library, we have a great media center. We have so many different books for our students to come in there and read.
And you talked about the Linden Library. I'm actually the president of the library board for the city, so I can speak firsthand to the fact that the library, Linden Free Public Library, is moving in a positive direction and is increasing services to our community and is reaching more of our residents, and is looking to get more active and involved in the Linden community as a whole. So we're definitely moving in the right direction as well with that.
I shared earlier from the pre-K classroom. Can you speak to, from the different levels, how are you seeing our educators work closely together? How are educators closing the learning gaps before students fall too far behind in literacy reading?
Well, right from the beginning in early childhood or elementary, early intervention is the key. So we have our reading diagnostic, we have the DRA test that we give to students, we have Dibbles assessments, and what that does is it targets the phonics or the phonemic awareness. What areas do students struggle in? And then we meet their needs that way throughout the year. So right from the beginning, right back in kindergarten all the way up, we're doing reading inventories and checking in on students. Teachers then take the data. It's data driven. So take that data and meet the kids where they are. Our elementary program, we have students meeting with teachers in small group on their reading level. So you can't just put a book in their hand. You need to meet them where they are and then grow from there. So we start with that. And then as they get older into the middle school and high school, they are all reading the same book or similar books, but with our ML students or students that are struggling to read, we have translation features. It's amazing that the children can just have the text in front of them, but then they can click and hit translation and understand a little bit more what's going on in the story. So we're really meeting them where they are and just growing from there.
And to add to that point, I was in a language arts classroom once and I saw that students were reading, but there was also an audio version. So students had their earbuds in or headphones in, and they were able to listen to the text while they were reading it, especially for those students that are struggling, as another form of being able to access the text and being able to develop those literary skills that they need, even if they struggle with reading.
Absolutely.
So at the high school level, I do know you might could speak a little bit more to it. We have our ILT and our RTI programs where we pull out and we have that targeted instruction. So we have state testing and we have to meet the state requirements. So if our students are struggling, we get to look at those results, pull groups of students, and we have great teachers who are doing it, pulling our students and meeting their needs. And we are seeing a difference in our state test scores.
Absolutely. Yeah, the RTI program at
Yeah,
the high
it's
school
great.
is amazing.
It's really great. Absolutely.
And
You want to tell people what is the RTI? So,
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. No,
Yes.
that's clear, right? Well,
Yeah,
we wanna
reading
be informed.
intervention. So basically, we have 2 teachers that work in the language arts department. They're pulling students 9th through 12th grade based on need. So if there's a group of students that maybe need help with state testing or writing an essay, they'll pull those students and they actually sit down in a classroom with them one-on-one or in an entire group and work on those skills. And it's fantastic. And the benefit of that too, we talked about engagement, is then those students feel heard. So they really feel heard and understood. And, are they shutting down just because they're frustrated, or do they really need that support? And once they get that support, it's amazing how that light bulb goes off and they're able to function better in their own classrooms.
I agree. And this year, we even have an ML component to that, where we have one of our ML teachers come and they pull and they give our ML students that extra support as well. So I think that's great.
When we think about our students, right, we do have a large number of students who identify as multilanguage learners, our ML students, and language acquisition was our role, right? That's what we're trying to do. So we provide them with those opportunities, as you said, to just feel seen and heard, and the translation services, the other
We have it at the middle school now.
We have it everywhere, right?
We have aides that go into the language arts classroom and help provide those services and supports for those ML students that are in our language arts classes, and they may be accessing English for the first time, and we're expecting them to do heavy stuff and do heavy work with novels and reading and content, and those aides are able to provide the support that they need so that way they can build those skills, even if they're learning the language.
Yes.
Right. We have our sheltered instruction program, which is, part of where this question derived from. What are educators doing to help close the gap? And as a district, we're providing that professional development to our teachers, as you said earlier, right? Boots on the ground, right? If I had a fan. How key it is that we continue to provide our teachers with the support that they need to meet the students and language acquisition. All students, we see that it's a national crisis, but we are putting those systems in place to help our teachers as well as our students. And so we also spoke about meeting students where they're at. So it's this theme of understanding the whole child, right? That's who we are. So when students disengage or seem unmotivated, how important is it to understand the why behind the behavior.
This is so
So
important.
important.
Oh
I
my
love that, right?
Very.
So important.
I feel like this is where I thrive when it comes to education and what I believe in. I started off as an elementary school teacher, then I became a school counselor because I'm like, I love that connection, and now I'm a dean of students. But it is so important to, when we have our art program that we have at the high school or our ATM program, it's important to know that that student might have been late or might not showed up because they have a sick mother, they have a mother who might have cancer, they might be taking their sibling somewhere. Because when you understand what the problem is, we can help better meet their needs or help guide them or give them the supports they need. But understanding what's happening, some of our babies have mental health issues that they might need we might need to connect them with a school counselor or a social worker. So understanding the whole child of, okay, they might not be doing so well, but why aren't they doing that well? And meeting their needs is crucial.
And
Absolutely.
behavior is communication.
Yes,
Yes.
So
absolutely.
the challenge is figuring out what they're communicating by it, and
The why.
the why. And what you were saying in terms of being able to provide them with those supports, whether it is a counselor, whether it is a social worker, whether it is an administrator stepping in and providing that support, getting the families in to see what concerns are there and how can we work to address those concerns, so that way that why, now we have a solution. If there's a problem or if there's a challenge, we have to provide a solution for it or work to find a solution. Or if we try solution A and solution A may not be as effective, all right, well, what's solution B? Coming up with a solution B, a solution C, solution Z, solution double A, whatever it is, not giving up. Going back to failure is not an option. We can't stop.
No. I think this reminds me of the SEL days. So we just had one this past week.
Tiger Pride
Yeah.
Wellness.
Tiger Pride
Pride
Wellness
Wellness
Day.
Day.
That's right.
And it was amazing in the classrooms, even up at the high school, kids were coloring, but the teacher was doing it with them.
I love coloring.
And so I feel like,
So do I.
I do too.
I do. I love it.
I feel like when students feel relaxed and loved and comfortable, and like we said, part of the community and home, that classroom becomes their home. And when they do feel they have that relationship with their teacher, even myself, I try to build relationships as an administrator with them. I feel like they're going to be more willing to take the risk. They're going to want to put the effort in. They're going to want to be engaged, and they're going to want to be there. And we want them
Show up.
here.
Absolutely.
So, really important.
We're speaking about relationships, connection. That's what, right? A relationship is a either positive, negative, balanced relationship. How do relationships, relevance, and support system help build resilience and bridge the gap for students who may feel school isn't working for them?
You can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think personally about my journey and how I got to where I'm at just in life in general, the support of my family, the support of my teachers when I was in school, the support of my professors and cooperating teachers when I was in college working to become a teacher, the support that you provided me when I was a teacher at McManus and you were my principal and I was working to become an administrator. And it goes for our students as well. They can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. So any support that we can provide or any relationships that can be built that gets them, that helps them put that shield and in a good way, like a protective shield, like I can get through this. It's like this is coming at me, but this shield is going to prevent it, it's going to block whatever this hindrance is from affecting me, and I can persevere and keep going.
Absolutely.
No other way.
And like we said in the beginning, if they're not here, they're not learning. So when they're here in the classroom and they're building those relationships and they feel heard and they feel seen, it's amazing what they can do. We talk about, putting up the WALT statement and having the success criteria. What are students learning?
Yeah.
And when they feel they understand and they're a part of the room and they can understand what the message is or what they need to do, their resilience is amazing. They're going to persevere through anything.
It's one of our R's.
That's it.
Yes.
So, and they know that the help is available, that they're there and they feel supported. So you said it takes a team, and it does.
I agree. And I also would say it's important as the adults or the leaders or the teachers in the building, don't just show up. A smile can go a long way. A smile can affect the student's day. So you guys did a presentation one time talking about, it was a walnut and a marigold.
Yes.
that stays to me. I still have my marigold.
Yes.
And I believe in being a marigold because I believe even in my worst days of what I'm going through, I don't want to show that to the students. I want to show up with a smile, show up with warmth and with love. And it's powerful. It is powerful for that student who might not have the best home life or might be going through something at home. Just that smile might make them want to come in or letting them know they're cared about. So, and I think that's super important when it comes to kids who are disengaged.
What is that walnut and marigold?
Well, you know what? Yeah, well, so, and that's great that you said that as we tie it all together. And our assistant superintendent, Ms. Lewis, did the presentation on being a walnut. Either you're a walnut or a marigold, and that'll be coming up on one of our LPS roundtables, because it was clear. Ms. Anderson, you shared that you speak to a smile. And the reality is that that's an option, right? We have the option to want to smile. But you spoke about relationships. You spoke about just being there for children. That's what this is all about. In order for our students and our staff to really continue with this mission possible, right? The mission is possible, that showing up matters. Failure is not an option. It's just being human and understanding that those components matter. We're talking about literacy. We're talking about into the third marking period. And as we review report cards, I want to put a plea out to our parents. Please know that failure is not an option. Our report cards are available to you in the parent portal. Please look at it. Have conversations with your students, your children. Your children are our children. Our student is your student. We were speaking earlier of how else we can encourage our parents to be aware. And so we're going to pull students in and have meetings with them to really let them be aware of their strengths and weaknesses, which we already do. But then we have this captured moment of their grades, their success criteria of being able to succeed in Linden Public Schools. Failure can't be the option. We need them to get out of here. We need you to pass. We are getting ready to hit the 100th day of school next week. So we already are over more than halfway through the school year. So I want to thank you all for being here. And another plea, just know, at Linden Public Schools, our mission is to empower all learners. Our vision is rooted in meaningful engagement, reflection, and growth through ROAR, resilience, opportunities, achievement, and relationships. We remain committed to success of every student. Failure is not an option because resilience is who we are. We believe in showing up, facing challenges, learning from setbacks, and continuing forward with support and purpose. And so when students are present, supported, and encouraged to persevere, achievement becomes possible. This conversation reminds us that resilience paired with opportunity, strong relationships, and high expectations moves every student closer to success. This is what makes Linden, Linden. We're going to continue encouraging everyone by the sound of my voice, our voices, collective voices, that failure is not an option in Linden Public Schools. Thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
And we're going to keep pushing forward.
We are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? Boots on the ground.
Boots on
Your
the
boots
ground.
are on the
Where the
ground.
fans
Right?
at?
Yeah, where the fans?
That dance was so fun.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.